Welcome to Behind the Audition podcast with your host, Curt Hilton. Listen in on interviews with voiceovers, filmmakers, producers, animators, and much more. Curt, a voice actor himself, will give insider tips to the business, talk with guests about how they got into the business, and be sure to stay tuned to the end of the podcast when he challenges his guests with a pop-up audition. Now it's time for Behind the Audition podcast. Here's Curt Hilton.
Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Audition podcast. On this episode, I got to speak to the phenomenal voice actor, Mallory Handford. Mallory and I talked about how she got into the voiceover industry, great tips to polish your demos, tips to be a successful freelance voiceover, and also connecting with clients to market your brand. So sit back and enjoy another episode of Behind the Audition podcast. And coming to the show, this young lady is very successful. I have actually heard her on many commercials, Dunkin' Donuts, Lowe's, Baskin-Robbins, and her dad is pretty popular herself. Let's welcome to the show, Mallory Handford. How are you doing?
Hi, thanks for having me today. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. So, we're just talking about spring is in the air. It's I don't know what it is there in Chicago. It's going to be 80 degrees here in North Carolina today.
Well, I would trade. So today it's like 36. By Saturday, it'll be like 70 and sunny. So,
oh my goodness. My wife and I went to Chicago. It was October and it was nice. And then we went on the touristy boat ride in the canal. The nice cool air came in and I had a trench coat jacket or those big coats. I always forget the name of them. I had one of those and I thought I was going to have hypothermia by the time I got done with that boat ride. It's so cold in Chicago in October.
It is. And the water just makes it bitter. So
absolutely. Yeah. Being from the Midwest and moving out to North Carolina, I've kind of acclimated to the weather. So now it's anything under 50 degrees, I get a little grouchy.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you would like it here very much then. We've been hanging out at, 15, 20 degrees here for a while. So,
well, I hope it gets warmer. And, to start the show off, how long have you been in voiceover now?
Well, I started kind of dipping my toes in the water like 12 years ago. So, okay. I've been working with my dad for about 14 years.
Yeah.
14, 15 years. And so watching him do it, I was like, oh yeah, maybe I'll just take on a project or two here and there. And so I was doing, a little bit of work here and there for probably about 9 years. Like wow. I really didn't take it seriously, really until just before COVID hit. And that's when I decided to kind of digging a little deeper. I set up I decided I was going to take on Fiverr and just see what it's about, and I started working from home and the rest is history. I just kind of dove into it and here I am. So
yeah. And so your father, Bill DeWeese, he, everybody knows Bill. We watch his videos and we listen to his advice and everything. What was it like, you wanted to start this world of the industry of voice acting? How did you approach it with him? Like, what did you say to him?
Well, he's always said, I don't know why you don't just try to do this like full time, or I don't know why you don't just audition, just try. And, we have different personalities. My dad is a go-getter, he will, do whatever it takes. He'll keep putting himself out there. And for me, I'm really methodical. I just like one step at a time and I'll see how it goes. Another step, see how it goes. Where he's just jumping in. So we have different personalities and he encouraged me a lot. And I did a lot of theater growing up. And so I had some practice and I did radio for a few years. And so I had some practice behind the mic and I was like, okay, well, let's just try this. And when I tried it, things happened and I thought, okay, I can do this.
Very nice. So your first audition, what was that like? What did you first audition for when you started?
My first audition. Oh, that's a really good question. I had a client that had reached out, through my dad actually, needed a female voice, and it was for training e-learning,
Mm-hmm.
but they wanted a sample first. And, I mean, I'm like sweating buckets, and it's just a paragraph, and it was for Duncan.
Wow.
And that was so many years ago, and I got it. And I'm still record their training to this day. And then, I've done a little bit on pay to play, nothing really. I did not commit. I've never committed myself enough to be successful in pay to play, which means, a lot of auditioning. And I just haven't done that. So yeah, that was probably my first one though.
So when you first started to things now, what's different from then to now with this industry, do you think?
Well, man, I mean, there's just so much work. There's so much work and so much opportunity. Just with how technology has advanced and the need, especially in the corporate world, for different learning environments, it's just provided a lot of opportunity for speaking. So, I mean, for me, I do a ton of corporate work, and then a lot of like social media ads. I mean, that's just like endless. It seems like just tons of little companies that need somebody or, whatever. So I do a lot of work within those segments, and that just seems to be, an endless, opportunity right there.
Now, what those social media ads, would those come from Fiverr, or are those from clients that you've built with your brand?
I get a lot of that is from Fiverr. A lot of it is from Fiverr. But I also get some direct work. And that is a lot of the direct work I do would be like commercial. I do some stuff over in Scotland for some people that reached out to me directly. And then occasionally the social media ad would be direct, but a lot of that sort of thing is coming from Fiverr specifically.
So that's when I want to talk about Fiverr. So there is the love-hate with Fiverr. We all know that as voice actors, right? And, talking to your dad and talking to other voice actors that are some like, look, if it works for somebody, let them be successful with that or what have you. And I think that everybody focuses on other success sometimes and kind of lose focus on what they should be doing. One thing your father said last time I talked to him, it was great. Let the market decide what your voice is. And, with Fiverr, you don't have to charge $5. And then we all know that. And I think the misconception is you can charge what, like, for example, some of the agencies charge. You can put that on there for commercial rights and for full rights, correct? And I think like you're talking about smaller social media businesses, I think they go there instead of going through the middleman, the agencies that hire voice actors, and they can kind of feel more personable and feel like, hey, I own this business. This is my baby. This is what I'm looking for. I need you to, sell my product like this, instead of going through an agency or pay to play and they just send you a script and they want your tone to be natural. They want your tone to be conversational. And you got to figure that out yourself and just hope you out of those other 200 people is what they're looking for, instead of having that conversation one-on-one like you do on Fiverr, correct? You agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, Fiverr is meant to be very personal, and it's built so that the seller can showcase what they have to offer, why somebody should work with them. And think of it as a buyer, you're going to a marketplace where, you type in voiceover and you get just a page full of thumbnails that you can just play a whole bunch of people. You see their faces, you see what they offer, and you can hear right away. So it's a really kind of personal connection that people are trying to have when they come there. I mean, of course, there's lots of people that come there that want a cheap job. And the good news is, as a seller, you get to decide what you're willing to work for,
right?
And what's worth it. What a job is worth to you. So, for me, I get a lot of messages from people with an ad that they're like, oh, I got a budget of $20. Well, I'm sorry, then my product isn't for you.
Right.
And that is totally fine. I'm very kind. I'm very, professional, but you kindly just say, no, that's fine. There are other people that might be willing to do that, but I'm not that person. So, they have the opportunity to move on then.
And when you think the misconception of Fiverr is that everybody thinks that it's $20. So people on there are going to offer you a job for $5 or $20. Yes, that's true. But the misconception is you control what you spend. And how did that happen with you? Like knowing here's how I'm going to be successful. What was the time you knew here's what I can do? And here when things change and you became successful on that platform?
Well, when I first started, I was looking around and seeing what other people were doing, people I knew personally, like, okay, what are they selling for? Okay, that's interesting. But I also knew there was like this algorithm that Fiverr had, like you had to build up your presence on the site. And so for me, it was like, okay, I know what I'm making right now. What is something I'm willing to work for and that would be worth it to me to build up my presence on the site? What is it worth to me? And so I set a rate, and it wasn't the bottom of the barrel. It wasn't, it was what I was comfortable with. And I thought, okay, I can make some money with that. And sales started coming in. And with Fiverr, you graduate your seller level. And when you graduate a seller level, it's a great opportunity to raise your rates because you're showing that you're more valuable now. And I think buyers learn too, like you work with somebody who's cheap on here and you're going to more than likely get the product that reflects that price. And so buyers going to higher priced people is not like out of the norm on this platform. They know, a higher price tends to equal a higher value and a better product. And so I think that's been a learning curve for buyers and sellers on the site. And I continue to raise my rates.
And you have because you have like when you sell a product on there or sell a service on there, there's the example, for example, there's your profile and you scroll over and then there's what you sold. So buyers can get an idea what your projects really sound like from somebody who purchased your
Exactly. So yeah, I put my demos up there so they can hear my fully produced professional demos. But then if you scroll through, yes, they are projects I've personally delivered to people that they can hear. And it's a great example of how, clean my audio is, what I actually sound like doing a real project. And
what I like about it too is you kind of hit the nail on the head a while ago. You said they can basically see what kind of projects you accept, because you could accept something that was very inappropriate, something that wouldn't, say you did something for somebody that was like, wow, that's kind of, I don't want that voice representing me. So like you said, beware of what you accept and how much you charge, because it might show up on one of your reviews. So I think that's some good advice. So going, So going to like Lowe's and Dunkin' Donuts and those other projects, were those ones that you were using pay to play, or were those ones you reached out with a coach or an agent?
Sure. A lot of it's direct, the training aspect of those. I also have big clients like Cuisinart. I do all their little product videos now. And I got that through Fiverr. A big brand, Infamil, babies. I got Compassion International. I do some big ads for them, and that was through Fiverr. And then, but a lot of like big companies, BMW, that's internal training. I sent in my reel to a production house. Lowe's is actually, that was like a direct thing. Usually we don't work like that with people, like directly with the company, but Lowe's, is a huge company that has lots of departments, and they actually work directly with their talent. Otherwise it was direct communication with production houses.
Wow. I love it.
Yeah.
So as far as your demo, and I've actually, my wife, she was in the TV industry for a long time, and she's been a great coach to me. I let her listen to my demos, and she was like, I actually like that first one better than the third one. And your dad just recently said this, switch your demos around move the best, if you're getting more hits on the third one, move it to the first one because they only listen to 6 seconds of your demo. What advice would you give for those? You're in commercial for their demos. How do you keep up with your demos and freshen them up?
Yeah. So when I talk to people and happens all the time, everybody wants to know, give me the review of the demo. Tell me, the good, bad, and the ugly. And the problem I hear, like the number one problem I hear in demos is just the same thing over and over and over again.
Right.
And to us, this is what's hard about doing our own demo. Mm-hmm. We feel like, okay, I was maybe a little bit more tight, a little bit more excited in that one, but it might not be translating
right
to the listener. Mm-hmm. And so that's what's so great about having an extra pair of ears, listen, either coach, direct, or just give feedback. Mm-hmm. So what I like to tell people is like, you got to think of your personality as like a big circle. And when you're only covering this little aspect, your personality is huge. You got to be excited. There's so much there. And then I have to show a compassionate side, or I have to show a really direct and hard hitting side. And that's just, you got to fill in all of the space there. And I think that is the biggest thing I don't see people doing when they're getting these demos done or make them themselves. So yeah.
Great feedback. So as far as your brand, what's a strategy that you use in the market? Do you focus on your market, or do you just send it out in the market and let the market decide you? Or is there a certain strategy that you direct mail, make phone calls? What do you do to help build your brand?
Yeah. I think the market decided early on what I could do, and who I would appeal to. Not to say that I can't get jobs in something really random, manufacturing, but like my demo, as it stands right now, is really probably a reflection of the most work I do in the first 3 segments.
Right. So,
when you hear over and over from buyers, oh, we really like how young you sound. We really like, and I'm 37 years old. Like, I'm not, super young, but I just sound like it. And so you embrace it. So when I'm describing myself or talking to somebody, it's a young, vibrant. Of course, after that, I say, yeah, I can do it all, direct or whatever, but young and vibrant is what I'm getting hired for. Or, we really like that natural, conversational, teen, blah, blah, blah. So, when you hear something over and over and over again, you know what your brand really is. Not to say that you shouldn't try for other things, but there's definitely one area that I get hired for the most, and it's that.
Wow, that's great. And so when you reach out and market your business to others, do you find that making phone calls or emails, which works best for you?
Well, emails is great just because you can just push them out, like just so, you can do so many at a time. They don't take up as much time, and so that's definitely the benefit of that. I don't do direct calls. Okay. I know the benefit of them because I've seen them done. Right. But so they'd be really beneficial, if you have time, the energy, and the will to do it. Because it certainly takes that. But
I totally agree that a lot of people are shyer on the phone, but it's funny, we act like crazy behind the microphone, but picking that phone call.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, and it's so funny.
Yeah, it is. The ego is fragile. And when you're auditioning already and you feel like every project is a reflection of you personally, you're putting your energy and your soul into some of these projects, a lot of these projects, just to have it judged by somebody else. It's all very subjective.
I love it. And so you were talking about social media marketing, not social media marketing, social media
ads. On, yeah. Yep.
So I always have interest in that because I like commercials, like doing commercial work, e-learning. I I'm working on one right now, working at eLearn, but those social media ads are fun because you could, there are a lot of people who own businesses who do not like having presence on social media, right? So, and they want a voice to go with their product and they want a brand to go with their product. What's some advice to reaching out to those businesses? Because yes, they can go on, freelance sites and hire somebody. How would you reach out to somebody to kind of, say, hey, look, I love your brand and I want to be the voice. How would you connect with them?
That's interesting. Because a lot of those businesses that are really fun to work with because they're new and excited about what they're doing. They're not working with middlemen because they don't have the money.
Right.
Typically. So if I wasn't doing a platform work where I felt like it was just kind of naturally coming to me, what I would do is I would probably start with an email and I would put my, make sure my logo is showing up on there. I would probably talk about the product. Hi, my name is Mallory. I'm a voice talent. And I really just wanted to reach out because I love using XYZ, or I really enjoyed checking out your site. Super cool stuff. If you ever have a need for a voice for your ads or whatever, please feel free to reach out to me. And please know that I'm happy to provide a sample at no cost.
Right.
That is a big thing. That way, it's kind of, some people, they don't know what they would hear, or they don't even know, oh man, what would that sound like?
And I did that. I did exactly what you just said. That's funny. I'm a big biscuits and gravy guy. I love biscuits and gravy. And when I go to a store or I go purchase something, I picture, and I've talked to a couple of VOs on the show about this, picture what my voice would sound like with this product. Cause you love the product. You have, a whole bunch of products in your house. How would you voice this? And I actually reached out to a local restaurant in town. They have biscuits and gravy, all the Southern fried foods. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love your food. And actually did a free demo for them. And I'm in the talks with them trying to, figure out what we can do. And I think that's a great, because there's so many businesses around you. We're slowly opening up again and they need our help. They need our help because we don't know if some of these businesses are open up anymore because a lot shut down during the pandemic. So I think that's some great advice. Yeah. A free sample. A lot of people won't do it. Right. They just won't. And two, and I'll go back to Fiverr because I do offer that on Fiverr as well. I don't advertise it, but if somebody comes to me, I like to provide free samples. And part of that is so that it's a great experience for me and the buyer. That way they know what they're going to get and they're already excited. Then they buy from me and it's like, okay, we are compatible. Rather than it being like, man, this is not what I wanted. You don't sound like what I thought it would sound like. Right. And it just prevents a poor relationship, Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about social media and presence with voice actors on social media. What is your feelings of, how would you, like, I don't think you really do a lot of social media. Yeah, no, it's all very personal for me. And then I connect with other voice talent. Right. But I'm not using it as like to further my VO business. Sure. What are your thoughts on that? Like, what do you think? Do you think we're kind of, losing touch with social media? Like I see there's times where it's like a big bulk of voice actors presence. And then there's time where it goes quiet. Yeah. Why do you think that is? Well, I think it's just like marketing, right? Like we get exhausted. We're like pushing. And then we're like, oh, okay. Like we're tired or we're not seeing the instant gratification from it. And even with marketing, that is not instant gratification, at least not typically. Right. You can't expect it. It might take 100 emails and then all of a sudden, okay, there's a job. Right. And then, okay, there's a couple more, but it's not instant gratification. And so really, I think people find it hard. And we are all one-stop shop. We're like alone. You see me, this is my office. I sit down here in my basement all day by myself. Right. And then I'll just talk to people on Skype here and there or whatever. But you can only do so much in a day. So my advice, if that is a goal of yours, and I think it's viable, 100% viable, it
it takes time management to make those things happen. Hey, at 9 o'clock, I'm going to do my regular posts. I'm going to do all my hashtags. I'm going to post a new video or a new ad I just got back, or a new sample or whatever that looks like for you. And then at 10 o'clock, I'm gonna push out about 10 to 15 emails. And then I'm gonna audition, blah, 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 or wrap up these projects or, whatever. I think eventually, I mean, I have little kids and I'm taking people to school, takes up like an hour and a half of my morning. And then I'm picking everybody up in the afternoon. I have like a very small window that I'm operating in.
Right.
And so I drop off my daughter and I run home and I'm record, edit. And then, okay, what emails can I kind of field right now? And so, time management is key.
Structure. You got a great structure. And I think that's important because the internet I've got caught in a black hole. You literally start scrolling and you're caught. And in 30 minutes, you're like, oh my gosh, I am just scrolling now, which can be really bad for anybody because you're like, I just wasted 30 minutes. I could be doing something else. So is that basically how you control your work-life balance where you shut it at 9 o'clock and you shut it off at 5 o'clock? Because me and my wife, we've been doing that. We have work structures and I think it's important to have a work-life balance. I'm still struggling with it as anybody else. I do this as well as I run a DJ business, but work-life balance is very important. And is that one thing you make sure you focus on every day?
Yeah. That's a really good question because, as a mom of 3 working from home, kids get sick every now and again. I live and die by structure and by time management. Like it really, I struggle with anxiety and depression. And like, these are things that I've had to learn to control based on my actions throughout the day. So I get up at 4 o'clock every morning.
Holy smokes.
Me and my husband do. I work out and then I tackle some emails and then I'm getting my kids ready and then I'm taking them to school. And then I'm back in here doing my VO thing, pick people up, wrap up anything I have to. I try to be done by 4 o'clock.
Wow.
And then if I get an occasional email here and there in the evening and it's a quick response type thing, I'll do that. But like, I'm not trying to work all day long just to kind of save my sanity. And not to mention, if you get up that early in the morning, you got to go to bed at like 8 o'clock. So at least that's me. I have to go to bed at 8 o'clock.
No. I mean, Mark Wahlberg goes to bed at 7 or something, gets up at 2 or 3 to work out. I know. And then
he's a beast.
Yeah. So, I can't do that. I would be a nightmare. Well, now it's time to have some fun. We're going to have some fun. I'm going to do something called the Audition Challenge. I sent you something fun in the chat and I thought this would be something fun for you to read. You do these fun, great commercials. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and take it away.
Spring is in the air and you know what that means. Time to break out the lawnmower. Break out Castle Mower. That's right. The all-new gasless lawnmower that takes 100 AAA batteries. Be the king or queen of the neighborhood today.
Oh, that's awesome. Can you imagine 100 AAA batteries for a lawnmower?
I cannot, sir, because
you have kids. You know what batteries are about, right? Because batteries are not cheap and you always need batteries. And it seems like everything requires batteries. And the person who made rechargeable batteries is sitting back in their castle right now smiling.
That's right. So
before I let you go, my cliche question I ask every show. So you're new to the industry. What advice do you give for those getting into the industry?
Small steps. Don't chew off, don't break off like a huge chunk of things that you have to do every single day. You got to start small. You can't burn out that fast. Mm-hmm. It is a marathon. And I know everybody says that, and it's the truth. Mm-hmm. I highly recommend taking off a little job at a time. I mean, if you don't have a studio, that's where you got to start. Mm-hmm. You got to make sure you have a product that's worth delivering. So that would be my first piece of advice to someone starting out. Get a great product. That means getting that studio up to par. And then when it comes to marketing, the sky's the limit, but you really do have to take that in steps as well. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And so you offer something, right, for those who want to up their game on Fiverr. Is that correct?
I do one-on-one Fiverr consultations. And then I also have a class that I
Okay.
taught through Bill's like learning team.
Okay.
And that is at MalloryFiverrtraining.com. It's
Okay.
$97. It's over 4 hours of content.
There you go.
And it really takes you step by step from like the very beginning, how to get started, and then how to kind of move through and communicate with people, and what to expect on the platform.
I love it. I love it. And I appreciate your time, and you have to come back on again and update us how everything's going. And I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show, because this is the information you gave us, like I said, with the Fiverr and everything. A lot of people, there's a misconception. I think it's great insight you gave. Mallory Handford, thanks so much for being on Behind the Audition podcast.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. For more information about Mallory or to book her for a project, go to MalloryHandford.com.
Thanks for listening in on Behind the Audition podcast, made possible by Hilton Productions. If you need a male or female voiceover, contact us at HiltonProductions.com. Hilton Productions, let our voices do the selling.